professor Morris dalla UK, Università di Hoffman. Bene. Un esperto di espresso.
Un esperto della storia dell'espresso, storia del caffè.
Perfetto. Dopodiché Maurizio Giuli, se vuoi venire un attimo qua. Maurizio Giuli, presidente dell'Ucimac.
Sì, presidente dell'Ucimac, lavoro presso una Speciality come marketing manager e siamo qua per parlare di come è cambiato l'espresso nel mondo e come l'espresso è cambiato nel mondo.
Bene, autore di un libro ne è uscito in libreria che dopo ci presenterà, Patrick Hoffman.
Buongiorno a tutti, Patrick Hoffman, presidente del Comitato Italiano Caffè e presidente della Corsini SPA. Parlerò di come a livello associativo cosa stiamo facendo nella collaborazione con i paesi di produzione con gli smallholder farmers. E chiedo scusa un po' di dati sull'andamento del mercato del caffè espresso italiano.
Bene, e poi per ultimo, scusatemi se magari passo dietro di voi, James Hoffman, ex campione UBC, just if you want to say, no, just, sure.
Hi, sorry, I'll stand up. James Hoffman, I run a small coffee roasting company in London, Rimini Coffee Roasters. I was a World Barista Champion in 2007.
Lui ha una micro roastery appunto a Londra ed è stato il campione mondiale UBC 2007. Io lascerei, giusto per una breve introduzione, visto che siamo ospiti di Rimini Fiera, una parola a Patrizia Cecchi, direttrice di Rimini Fiera.
Benvenuti a tutti, grazie di partecipare a questo incontro. Abbiamo avuto le prime 2 giornate intense di lavoro e il nostro obiettivo è di guardare sempre al futuro e di far sì che questi momenti, oltre ad essere momenti importanti da fare, possano permetterci di interpretare il futuro e quindi di capire quali sono le tendenze, quali saranno gli sviluppi, quindi avere le antenne proprio sui trend. Quindi penso che questo convegno vada a sottolineare questo aspetto. Grazie.
So, thank you for having me. I'm aware I speak as an outsider to Italy. I also speak as someone representing the newer wave of specialty coffee. And I think I'll start I'll say something similar to what has been said. I'll start with price. My summary would be this. The fixing of a low-priced espresso in Italy put a ceiling on how a roaster in Italy could buy green coffee, as well as the way that roasters in Italy will supply and provide equipment. All of this for a very long time has meant that espresso has had a tradition of cheaper raw coffees. What was interesting when espresso left Italy, and let's use Starbucks because it's easy. Starbucks did some very interesting things with espresso, to me. They realized that their market had no expectation of price anymore, so they could price higher where they needed to price. They also realized that espresso was very useful in new markets because one machine could make many, many, many different drinks. So espresso became a very flexible centerpiece of any cafe as that market grew outside of Italy. Starbucks exploded, and that model to the rest of the world looked very successful. Financially, however you wanted to see it. So it was replicated, that way of serving and presenting espresso. And you saw after say 2000, the year 2000, the growth in new specialty roasters. And what was interesting there is often these people behind these businesses had no tradition. You know, the espresso was new and was fresh, and they were passionate people. And often they started as businesses where the coffee roaster also had a cafe. And this changed the way that they could buy green coffee. And it would change the way that specialty espresso therefore would taste. These roasters began to buy washed coffees, high-ground coffees, often from Central America, fine coffees from Africa as well. Coffees that traditionally were very different to the naturals from Brazil, the coffees from India, Uganda, or Vietnam, that had been for a long time the tradition of espresso. So more complexity, more sweetness maybe, also more acidity. And it's always interesting to give an espresso like that to somebody who drank Italian espresso all their lives. To them it tastes terrible. To those of us with no tradition, it tastes delicious. So espresso changed outside of Italy very quickly. And from the outside, it was interesting to see Italy, especially the Institute, the National Institute, try and hold on to what Italian espresso was quite carefully, because in many ways good business, because espresso had gained a reputation of being more expensive actually outside of Italy. You go to Starbucks, an espresso is more expensive than black coffee. So it's more expensive means it's better. So the brand, the idea of Italian coffee being better was very valuable. You saw the increase in export numbers in the last 10, 15 years of Italian roasted coffee kind of going out to the world. It was very interesting. But as espresso spread, as new roasting companies started, the coffee they were roasting, the coffee they were serving, very, very different. The way that they used espresso equipment, totally different. So espresso outside of Italy got a very long way away. But we're coming up to, in terms of the future, a difficult time. Because the kinds of coffees that these roasters, the new specialty roasters have started to buy, are going to disappear pretty much in the next 10 to 20 years, maybe sooner. We have a couple of issues. Take El Salvador, for an example, a country that produces, I think, great coffee for espresso. 2009-2010 crop year, 1.8 million bags. A combination of leaf rust and other issues meant that it was 0.8 million bags. Over half the production disappeared 2009-2010 to last year. But there is going to be increasing disappearance of coffee in Guatemala, in Costa Rica. People don't want to grow coffee for a living, especially young people. The average age of a coffee farmer in Colombia is 55. Smallholder coffee is going to go away. There is not going to be a problem of global supply and demand. We can lose 1 million bags from El Salvador. Brazil can add 5 million more. Indonesia can add 2-3 million more. India can produce more. So the challenge for specialty espresso, as we see it now, is that if you wish to do traditional espresso and be competitive with price, actually long term I think that will be possible, because I think global production from certain countries will always meet demand. But if you wish to do higher quality, higher grown coffees, these are going to become increasingly scarce and hard to buy, and the market will make this therefore much, much more expensive. So I think we will see more of a division in price between specialty and mass market. I think already we talked about Starbucks increasing prices a little bit. Now they would be seen as being too cheap by most third wave or artisan coffee roasters. They would be seen as the low end of the market now. There are places around the world very successfully charging €3 for a single espresso. The market has gone a very different way, a different place. But even at €3, we may still have to go higher and higher and higher. I think at home, the pod will win. The capsule will win, no questions. Every disruptive technology is initially dismissed because we think the quality matters more than convenience. Eventually, the quality catches up and destroys the competition. Mobile phones. The first mobile phone was ridiculous, big, the call quality was bad. These days, almost no one has a phone line in their house. Why? What is the point? It's gone. It's won, it's destroyed. Pods the same way. Espresso at home will get better through pods and easier. Again, I think this will present a challenge in the retail marketplace if the consumer, because espresso is difficult, can we agree this is true? Making espresso is quite hard. If a domestic pod machine can consistently make better coffee than a well-trained barista, we maybe have some problems there too, for the health of that market. So, was that too negative? Was that very down? Was that very sad?
I'm scared about that.
No, I mean, it's, espresso, specialty espresso, I think, faces a number of challenges. I think if I was a roaster looking 10 years down the line, I'd want to look at technologies and ways of improving my consistency of brewing high-grown coffees very well. But equally, I could argue that maybe a very concentrated beverage is not the best way to sell very expensive coffees. You know, it's hard to taste something unusual in an espresso because it is so strong, so overwhelming. And I think we've already seen in the last 5 years, roasters try and sell the idea of brewed coffee, of pour over coffee. That's the new special thing. And espresso is not the new special thing. Espresso is now the cheaper thing again, which I think is a new challenge for espresso as part of specialty. So that's how I see a little bit of the future. I hope it's not too bleak. I'll stop there. Thank you.